Hi friends, and thanks so much for being here. I'm Anna and I'm glad you're here with me today. So today I have a tip video to share with you. It has been a while since I have shared any tips with you. I know you love my tip videos and I want to share one with you today. So where my tip videos often come from is I'm trying to solve problems while I'm stamping, and then I think like, oh hey, this is a great idea. I have to share this with people. So I was stamping earlier. I was making some adorable cards I want to show you, but my stamp would not stamp properly. I know you've been there, okay? Like, you try all these different things, and whatever you do, it won't stamp properly. Drives you crazy, right? So I was going through this. I went through my whole list of things I do when my stamp won't stamp properly. Finally got it to work. So I want to share all these things with you. Sometimes the problem is your stamp. A lot of times it happens when your stamps are new. Sometimes the problem is your stamp. Sometimes the problem is your ink pad. There's all different situations. And actually, sometimes it's not either one, and you just need one more inexpensive tool to make it work perfectly. So stick around, watch, and at the end, I'm going to be talking like I've been doing, and I want to share with you, because cold and flu season is starting, I want to share with you what I feel like is almost a miracle cure for colds and flu and illness. We've been using it in our family for a couple of years. It comes from nature. That means it should be the best, probably. But I want to share that with you at the end, so stick around. So when I find that one of my stamps is not working properly, typically, like I said, it's a new stamp. I think there's a film or something on the surface of stamps when they're new that ink just doesn't like to cling to. So one of them doesn't stamp properly, what I do first is clean it. This is my Stampin' Chamois. I just put water on it. It is the way I typically clean my stamps. I can just blot this on here. It pulls that ink right off my stamp. I love it. But this is what I usually do. Now, sometimes I get out my Stampin' Mist, my cleaner with my other stamping tool, my other cleaning tool. And I'm going to put links to all these things in the video description below, as well as a link to a video for how to make all these cute cards if you want to take a look at that. But the first thing I do is clean it, okay? That often takes care of the problem. So clean your stamps. You may even want to clean them all when you first get them to prevent the problem, and it may save you a lot of headache. Next, I'm going to be honest, a lot of times I don't clean mine. I do this instead. But I just wanted to mention that cleaning them likely will take care of the problem. Okay? So what I do is, a lot of times I'll just ink it up and stamp with it. And of course now it's going to stamp perfectly because I solved my problems earlier. But you can do that. That may solve the problem. What I typically do that usually solves my problem, if, you know, this is what I typically do right here. I ink it, I stamp, and I push, and I twist my stamp back and forth. As you can see, I did this like 12 times earlier when I was trying to figure out what was wrong with my stamp. It wasn't my stamp, it was just me, I think. But so I twisted it, and I think that really helps to get that film off of the surface. So that is what I typically do, and it typically takes care of the problem. Now, I'm going to clean that off real quick so that I can do this next step. Now, I did that and it did not solve the problem, which is unusual. So that's when I really had to put on my thinking cap and get to work and figure it, problem solve what's going on with the stamp. We got to figure it out because I really want to use it. And here is something you can do. Something about the surface of these stamps sometimes that ink doesn't like to cling to it. It pools up. So it was in like little beads all over. So chances are if you've done much stamping, you've had this problem. So here's a really good tip, is you can condition your stamps with an eraser. Now you may want to do with this with a big pink eraser. I typically keep one in my drawer right here, but I have little fingers that love my craft area and things walk off. If you have little fingers in your craft area, I feel your pain. So anyway, just rub the eraser of a pencil or that large eraser, rub it all over, and that helps condition it to where that ink should stick to the surface of it. Now, after that, you want to clean it really good, because now I have these little, you know, those little eraser balls. Do those have a name? I don't really know. Okay, so I think it's ready now. Now I'm going to try this ink pad right here. This is the ink pad I started with. And like I mentioned at the beginning, the problem might be your ink pad. So let's try this and see how it goes. And this looks a lot different than it did with that other pad I just used. Okay. And here is what I'm talking about. So I actually think I had a problem with my ink pad and my stamp earlier. Sometimes you may need to re-ink your pad if it's like not stamping completely, which this didn't stamp completely either. But sometimes your ink pad is low on ink. Make sure it's not low on ink. Sometimes they are too juicy. There's too much ink in here. I had shared this tip a long time ago. Got really good feedback from those of you. If you feel like your ink pad is too juicy, you know what I used to do? I used to take paper towels and soak the ink out. Well, that's wasting money and ink. This is a way to keep that ink in the pad and not have to waste it. So you take an acrylic block that's most of the width of your ink pad, press down and pull back. And what it's going to do is like squeegee that ink to this back side so you can clean off your block. It's very easy to clean that off. And let's try this another time over here. I want to stay away from this side back here where I just pulled all that ink to. And that did make a difference in how it looks. So I did this, it helped, but I still was not getting a full stamp. And this, my friends, is my tip for relieving all of your stamping problems when things just are not stamping properly. Now let's try it with this blue one. Let's see if it is going to cooperate this time. And we got a much more complete image. I think I may need to work on the level of ink in this ink pad a little bit more because it still is not looking quite like, let's do this with this other one, with my crumb cake ink. And this one is stamping much better. So those are some things to try when your stamp will not stamp properly. Now, I do want to mention quickly, if you're using Stampin' Up stamps and there's something wrong with it, make sure you contact me or Stampin' Up or your demonstrator, whoever that is, because I absolutely love Stampin' Up for so many reasons, and I love supporting a company with values like they have and just all kinds of things. But they stand behind the products, and if something is not right, it will be replaced. So wanted to mention that quickly. Now I'm excited to share my what seems like a miracle cure to me for cold and flu and illness season. So I want to share this with you. So if you've been watching my videos lately, you know that I'm adding this new thing in where we stop when we talk about life at the end, something. I have a lot of interest besides stamping, a lot of things that I have been learning about wellness, just all kinds of things that I think could really help people if I share them. So here's what I want to share as we are entering cold season. This right here. I made this for the first time, I think it was just last year. I was debating if I've made this for 1 or 2 years. I believe it was just last year. But this is elderberry syrup. Now, it's very, very likely you've heard of elderberry products for boosting your immune system. And it is because they are a very powerful gift from nature that nature has given us to help with immunity. So how did I make this elderberry syrup? So where I'm from northern Indiana. If you don't know that, elderberries grow as weeds around here, like in ditches and all over. They're just growing and making all these berries, and most of them go to waste because people don't realize what they are. I am the crazy person out there on these. They like water, so they grow on these steep ditch banks. They don't grow on normal ditch banks, at least not here, or I haven't found them there. They're on these really steep ditch banks. So I'm the crazy person out there collecting these elderberries so that I can make this miracle cure immune boosting stuff that has really helped to keep my family from getting sick. So quickly, I know that at this point you're probably not going to be able to go collect elderberries wherever you're at. I'm going to include some links in my video description for where you can get elderberries if you want to make your syrup And I also have a link to pre-made elderberry syrup if you prefer to go that route. So how you make it, you take elderberries and water. You have any water around? Ginger, cinnamon, cloves, lemon juice, and you simmer it on the stove for a while. And then you strain it out and add some, let it cool down some, and add some honey. If you can get local honey, that would be preferred. Local honey is supposed to help with allergies and all kinds of good things. Raw honey is supposed to have added benefits. I don't really know if that's the case. Like, I'm not a scientist. I just read things and learn and gather things here and there. But yeah, if you can get some local honey or some raw honey, that may be good to add to it. And then you can decide how you use this. So what we did, I've read different places. I've read a couple of times that elderberry is so powerful you don't want to take it every day, that you don't want your body to get used to having it all the time. So we did not take it on a regular basis. We waited until you start to get that scratchy throat, or sneezes, or somebody else in the house isn't feeling great, and you start taking it. So we would take like 1 spoonful 3 to 4 times a day when we're not feeling good, or when we're trying to prevent getting some illness that somebody else has. I encourage you, if you want to try and making this yourself, look up, there's lots of different recipes. They're similar. They have different things in them, but most of them are pretty similar. I'm going to include the recipe for this. If you use the link in the video description and go to my website, I'll have the recipe I used there. Like I said, I'm going to include links to where you can get dehydrated elderberries or some elderberry syrup if you don't want to go the route of making it. But I shared this with several people last year, and we all agreed that we thought it was very helpful. I know sometimes it's hard to know, like, if something is actually helping or not, and we really thought it was helpful. So I just wanted to share that with you. Let me know what questions you have. I think that's all I have for today. So thanks so much for being here. Hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you'll be back next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.